Hi, everyone. Welcome to Lawyer Up Podcast. This is your host, John Ting. Today, we have some important news that dropped down from the President Trump's administration yesterday. He expanded the restrictions of immigrants coming into the U.S. So we have a guest today, our first guest, that is. She works for Reddy Newman, immigration law firm here in Houston, Texas. She focuses on non-immigrant visas. Actually, she's the practice manager for that department. Her name is Vy Hoang. I've had the honor actually to serve as Vy's mentor last year through the Asian American Bar Association. Actually, in her first year of practice, she filed over 500 H-1B quota cases and responded to over 300 requests for evidence cases. That's quite a bit, and it doesn't take the USAS doesn't take these RFEs lightly. Sometimes it could ask for a couple documents, or they could be quite expensive. And from what I know in business immigration, it can be always quite extensive in response, providing documents to the government. She's actually received awards during law school at South Texas College of Law in Houston. She received a Dean's Student Advocacy Service Award. She's also received the Heart of South Texas Advocacy Award. Well, we actually have a lot of questions to ask Vy about the order that came down yesterday, because a lot of people do have concerns about what it means and what it doesn't mean. So let's get to it. Hi, Vy. Welcome to the Lawyer Up podcast. How are you today?
I'm good, John. How are you?
Great. Thanks for joining us. I know you're very busy, especially with there's a deadline for the H-1B, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of H-1B, can you explain a little more about your practice area, what you do?
Yeah, so I am in the employment-based immigration field. My niche is more of the H-1B non-immigrant visa, which, like you said, we're in our busy season filing for the June 30th, 2020 deadline. But overall, our area of expertise is business immigration, which is mainly focused on clients wanting to bring over foreign workers to work for their companies.
Mm-hmm. And you work with Reddy Newman, correct, in
That's right.
Houston?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We're based in Houston.
Mm-hmm. And then you, well, there's big news yesterday, right? The
Yeah.
new amended proclamation by President Trump. Can you tell
Mm-hmm.
us the summary of that?
Yeah, so essentially, it's an extension of the proclamation that he sent out. I believe it was April 22nd, 2020. So it's really extending the suspension of allowing immigrant visas to come into the U.S. That is extending the bar of new immigrant visa applicants
Mm-hmm.
to the end of the year. Along with that, President Trump has extended it to non-immigrant visas, including H-1B, L-1, H-4, L-2, J-1s, but it's focused more on barring entry of those non-immigrant visas. So anybody who's currently outside the U.S. without that visa classification will not be able to come in until
Right.
next year.
Can you explain for our audience the difference between, because you mentioned immigrant visa
Mm-hmm.
versus non-immigrant. Now, this new order does restrict both categories, but can you explain the difference on those two?
Yeah, so the immigrant visa is more of, maybe people have heard it as permanent residence, permanent visa. So those applying for their green card to stay here permanently, eventually naturalizing to become a U.S. citizen. Non-immigrant visas are focused on the temporary work visas,
Mm-hmm.
H-1B, which is, for a finite period of time. So it's affecting both the immigrant and the non-immigrant.
Okay. Now, you did focus on the part where people are restricted from coming into the U.S. So
Mm-hmm.
to further clarify, because lawyers like to do that anyone currently in the U.S. can continue with their application with your June 30th deadline, right?
Correct. Yeah. So anybody who's already in the United States in a status, filing any extensions or change of status are okay. The only issue maybe for those filing for the CAP case, like those cases that we're working on right now, is if they did file it as a consular processing case,
Mm-hmm.
which they would have to eventually go out of the United States and come back in on an H-1B visa stamp. That might delay their ability to actually come in on H-1B.
Mhm. Is there a particular reason, strategy call, why people would select consular processing and have interview abroad when they're already in the U.S.?
There's some strategy towards it. Some people who are students would like to finish out their year as a student, or they just know that they were planning to travel and go back home before they want to start working as full-time H-1B. So they were just planning ahead and filing as consular processing. But unfortunately, that's kind of put them in a bind with this new proclamation.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks for sharing that, V. And I know the order said it expires December 31st this year, and we all know elections in November. Without going into too much into politics, but do you think that President Trump is targeting a specific industry, for example, or, I mean, it seems dramatic, right? He's
Yeah,
limiting or creating more restrictions, but after my review, it doesn't seem that it will affect for too long per se, right? Because there is,
right.
the registration is a certain time period of the year in March, right?
I mean, definitely think that immigration has always been a hot topic for any administration. They have always tried to either crack down on immigration or loosen it a bit. But coming on the tail of COVID-19 and trying to, essentially focus on public health and ensuring the unemployment rate goes down, I think I'm assuming that's where the plan was to go with this proclamation. So hopefully, as COVID kind of decreases and we get back to normality, it will just remain a temporary kind of proclamation.
Well, that's what President Trump says, right? But
Yeah. I mean,
but,
being hopeful,
but
being
between you and
optimistic
I
that.
mean, and other immigration attorneys, we know, there's like a prevailing wage process
Yeah.
where I don't want to call it a minimum wage. Some prevailing wage requirements are quite high, right? Some employers, would probably balk at the level if they want to continue that case, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So, what's in it? Can you give us an example of what a prevailing wage could be without, don't go into case detail, but just so the audience knows that it's not like you're paying someone, yes, a salary, right? But not a low salary for that position.
Right.
There's a lot that goes
Yeah.
into analysis.
So like, for example, a lot of our clients are engineers or IT consultants. So a lot of them are based in California, and just the prevailing wage alone in that area is at least 100,000. So an employer wanting to maintain that employee will have to pay at least that or more. And sometimes it just kind of, it's difficult.
Mhm. Well, right, because it's based on like the demographics or your
Right.
metropolitan area.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so standard of living, obviously like Texas will be a lot lower than New York or the West Coast.
Uh-huh.
Okay, well, moving along from the order, I mean, what excites you about this area of law that you practice?
I definitely the constant battle and changing of the law. I mean, it's frustrating for sure, but it's always relevant. It's exciting, frustrating, and all of that combined. But you're just having to constantly be on your toes and just reacting as the administration is reacting, because it's so different from each administration. But as long as I've been an attorney, I believe it's been under the Trump administration. So there has been constant new memos, like almost monthly, and it's interesting, but it's also very frustrating, but it's enjoyable in that sense. It kind of creates a little more dynamic, since at least with employment-based immigration is very transactional, so we don't do litigation. The adversary is the administration and the administrative agency, so it's a little more entertaining in that sense.
And then in terms of in the attorney perspective, if there's family-based, there's, like you said, litigation, removal, defense-based. I mean, they all have a lot of challenges during the last 4 years. Can you tell us how you got started in terms of, I don't know if you selected employment-based or if just the way your career path just started that way?
Yeah, I mean, I always knew that there were two types of field of law, I guess you can say, that I was interested in was immigration, especially because of my parents' immigrant background. And then just the wills, trust, and estates. The first time I volunteered at a wills clinic was the reason why I wanted to become a lawyer. So it's always kind of been something special to me. But I was in law school and I was applying for, summer clerkship, and I found Reddy and Newman, and they did employment-based immigration, which I had no idea that even existed, because I hear immigration and I just think family immigration,
Exactly.
kind of deal with. But I got the position, and then I just really enjoyed it, and it's been a huge learning experience, and just learning the other side of immigration and how companies, how immigrants are really great for our economy, and seeing all these big companies that actually need foreign employees. It's really great.
Thanks for sharing your story, V. Can you now that you kind of mentioned it in terms of the challenges with employment-based, can you explain to our audience why it's actually not quite that easy for an employer or a business to hire someone? I'm sure that, we talked about like the March and April deadlines, or June now, but
Yeah.
can you explain a little bit about that?
Well, specifically with the H-1B visa, the employer has to show that the position is a specialty occupation and that the beneficiary qualifies for that specialty occupation. And we're working against administrative agencies and officers who are not attorneys, right? So they are just following guidelines and memos that are set out for their agency, and it's discretionary. So the employer has to go almost like above and beyond to show that there is this need for this specialized, skilled person to come over and work on this specialized project. And so the difficulties of getting those approvals are actually trying to prove to the officers and the agency all of this, specialty occupation and all that stuff. So a lot of documentation, a lot of requirement and evidence to prove up to something that seems so intuitive, because the position itself is so difficult that you need a bachelor's degree, at least that or more. It's hard for an employer to actually prove that constantly. And when USCIS is just approving these employees for a year to 2 year, it's a constant extension and a constant process of filing and reproving of the position to make sure that they do qualify.
There's certainly different nuances in immigration law that most people don't think about if they're considering to enter this area of law, whether they're transitioning or just coming out of law school. Do you have any general advice for those in that position?
I think just be interested in what you're doing, because it's a whole new learning process, I guess, whenever you're switching to any type of field of law. But it's good to remain up to date with the policies now and the politics now, because it reflects in what we do day to day. So I think if you're interested in that and you're interested in helping, companies find immigrant workers or foreign workers, then this is kind of the field for you.
Okay, thank you.
COVID, and I think we've come in a lot. We've had a lot of difficulties filing cases because our clients have lost projects because of the COVID-19, and these projects are ending. So it's just an interesting time right now, just kind of dealing with, how to manage our team here with COVID-19, and then seeing the effect of COVID-19 play out with our clients, and then in turn affecting businesses. It's strange. These are strange times.
Right. Certainly. I mean, I've experienced some business loss myself because, they were considering to hire some people through the employment base, but especially a restaurant. But is your firm, if you're able to share, like, is it similar in that way?
We've been fortunate to kind of keep everybody here and employed, and just doing our best working from home.
Okay, good.
So,
Okay.
Yeah, it's not.
So I know seems like you're at the office, but has your firm been able to operate remotely most of the time?
Yeah. So, and when the first order came out in Houston about the stay home order, we were all remote for that month, and it was surprisingly doable. I mean, I think we realize now that a lot of these things can be done electronically online. But as of last month, we've started to be in the office on rotation, at least, to make sure that we're only at 50% capacity. But it's been working out.
Good, good. And kind of with that challenge of working remotely, I know that you supervise your coworkers, or at least some of them,
Mm-hmm.
right? Can you explain
Yeah.
about your experience or share advice on what future supervisors could do?
Definitely put the need of your employees first and just communicate with them. I think, COVID-19 has been an example of um, a difficult time where a good leadership will actually help the team carry through, and, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but it's very important to communicate with your employees because we're all, in the dark. It's fear, a lot of fear is going on, a lot of anxiety, but just checking in with your team, checking in with each other, um, does a lot, and it goes a long way to make sure the team morale is there so that the work will get done, but you want to make sure that they're mentally healthy.
Absolutely, that's a great point, V. We need to make sure we're all there for each other.
Mm-hmm.
That's certainly important for our firm as well. Uh, what's the best way for potential clients to, or even other attorneys who are trying to find immigration law? What's the best way to contact you or the firm?
Well, you can always visit us on LinkedIn. We're at readyandnewman.pc. My name is Vy Hoang. Our firm does a weekly Facebook Live and YouTube Live on Tuesdays at 5 p.m. So actually one later today. And then our website is at www.rnlawgroup.com. So you can book a consultation, and I'm happy to help.
Oh, great. I need to follow you guys. That's good
Yeah.
to know. Also, so I already asked that question. I'm going to be a better interviewer in a month or two.
It's all good.
Okay. Let's talk about. So, V, I know that we actually serve on a committee together with
Mm-hmm.
ABBA,
Mm-hmm.
the Gala Committee, and so there's of course some challenges there with COVID-19.
Yes. Uh-huh.
But can you explain to younger, less experienced lawyers why participating in a local bar association is important?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely important to network, and just kind of meet other attorneys. I get to meet John and build a relationship with great attorneys and just friends and mentors. And I do value mentorship, so I think joining organizations good to help find that if you appreciate mentorship. And giving back to the community is a way to go outside of what you do on day to day. Because with me, I'm just like, it's immigration every day and, all day, every day. But going out to do, a ABBA or HYLA or any of those organizations, you get to kind of give back to the community and give back to your colleagues and feel a sense of purpose.
For sure, absolutely. Well, for those that don't know, ABBA, AABA is the Asian American Association of Houston, a bar association of Houston. In my perspective, like you said, taking time off from the actual practice area does give you a breather when at the same time you're helping out your own community or other peers in different fields. I believe it's been a great source of networking as well for future referrals. I think that's it. Well, oh, you know what? I did mention in the intro that I was your official mentor last year.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
What's it called? So have you read that book? I know you have.
The
Right?
Radical Candor? No.
Yes.
I ordered it. It's just on my shelf. But I realized that, during COVID, I've started audiobooks and I'm much better at finishing books with audiobooks. So I'm going to download that one instead.
Yeah, I did switch over audio. It was a lot easier
Yeah.
for sure, especially
Yeah.
when driving. Okay, well, I hope you enjoy it when you finally start listening to it. Well, thank you so much, V. We really appreciate your time and good luck with the June 30th deadline.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for watching Lawyer Up. I hope you learned something from today that you can share with others. If you enjoyed today's content, please click subscribe below and click the bell to receive notifications for our next episode. Expect an episode every Monday by 8 a.m. We'll even drop bonus episodes during the week. We have an amazing lineup of leaders and entrepreneurs ready to share their life's work to make a difference. Hey everyone, if you have any questions or comments, please type that down below and we'll answer them as soon as we can. Thank you very much. We'll see you next Monday.